Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Another interview here on King Solomon Entertainment on our KS News platform. Another review of Grown in Gospel. We're going to get right into it. You see who my guest is here. It is Pastor Bishop of T. Vernon House. Welcome to the platform, brother.
Thank you for having me on, King Solomon. Appreciate it.
T. Veron House, I should say. My
Yes,
apologies. T. Veron. No, I definitely did my homework, brother. And this is what the show is really about. And I'm so thankful that you decided to do the platform and come on and to let introduce our audience to who you are. And just your heart, like you've been really displaying. That's what really stood out to me when I heard you go live and seeing your live and the participation thus far in the show. So start by introducing to our audience who you are and kind of go from there.
All right. I am, as you said, Pastor T. House. Some people know me as Bishop, and I'm the senior leader of the Life Church. And Bishop, I'm in the Community Church of God is the organization that I'm in, and I am Bishop over the Northeast jurisdiction, which covers Pennsylvania all the way up to Connecticut, Maine, and then Bishop of International Affairs. And of course, done some business ventures and entrepreneurship and things of that nature.
Okay, so you are a pastor. How long you been pastoring?
I've been pastoring 26 years.
Oh my goodness, you don't even look that old. 26 years pastoring.
Listen,
Oh
he
my God.
beautifies the meat. He beautifies the meat.
Wow. Okay, and you are from the New York area, upstate New York. Or where you? I mean, what's the city you in New York?
Well, I'm originally from the Capital District, the Albany, Schenectady, Troy area, but the church, well, this campus is in Mount Vernon, New York.
Mount Vernon. That's what it is. Mount Vernon.
Yes.
Okay. So, pretty much, I just wanted the audience to know who you were. You're pastoring. It's another pastor, this Veron, that people kind of mix you up with. He got the little YouTube online web series, but your name come up as well. And when I check out your search of the teaching, and people are reacting to you, people are responding to you. So, have your ministry changed? Have anything really changed since you have been doing the show? People find out who you are since you were married to Tasha. How did that come into play as far as the change in your life?
Well, of course, people, I've had significant people begin to follow me. I had a following already, but of course, the show sparked people's interest to follow me on Instagram, follow me also on Facebook, and follow on our ministry when I'm doing my Thirsty Tuesday or Transformation Tuesday on our Bible study. So there's people that have begun to follow again the interest in seeing the show. And interested in to see what I'm doing, who I am, and what am I saying in particular. But it's been for me positive feedback from those that have begun to follow. I know as soon as the show that aired, I got my blue check from Instagram prior to all of the. Prior to the, I think now you can pay to have it, but prior to that, after like maybe 4 or 5 days after, I was trending, and so I got that. So that's kind of changed in that sense of it. And so again, it sparked interest. Anytime you're on a major platform like that, it's going to spark interest with people, positive and negative. But we take it all in good strides. I take it all in good strides.
No, that's amazing. And again, you're able to see the silver lining. You're able to see the purpose of it and move forward in that. The show has kind of. I know you got to have a story structure. I know it's important to have a good show. I knew that's probably why it was important for you to come on the show to really share your part, the part you played. But sometimes in editing, the message get lost. At least how we're seen and how or what's the truth, what's not the truth, what's okay. Share your sentiments of how you was portrayed on the show, and versus you going live sharing your heart about what had happened. Then you had mentioned what's to come.
Yeah, like you said, most people don't understand reality TV. And of course, a lot of it is real, but some of it is entertainment. It's a lot of stuff that's put in there and filled in that is not necessarily it. but in the reality show, of course, growing up gospel, there were, of course, a lot of things that were edited. I didn't know. None of the cast knew exactly which pieces or scenes they were going to use. But of course, it's edited out. As far as casting me, or you mentioned me in the light and those things, I look at it from this posture. And there were some things that I said also in that particular scene, but it didn't get translated, or it didn't make it to the quote unquote the episode for everyone to see on there. But again, that's reality TV. Reality TV has its things, and if you don't understand it, especially if you're not in it or you've never been in it, then it can be misperceived. I didn't necessarily see from the production standpoint where they intentionally or cast me quote unquote in a bad light. I know. I think I read a few comments, later down the road of people saying that it looks like I was cold, or looks like I was not interested, looked like I did not want to be there. And it's not that I'm a cold person. What they did not understand is we didn't know the scene was going to be that way until I think maybe hours before, a couple of hours before, maybe 4 hours before, that the scene was going to necessarily be that scene, because we were told it was going to be a different type of scene, but the scene switched to being at Tasha's house.
Mm.
And so it kind of took me by surprise with those minor changes. But when you sign a contract, which I did, you're kind of under that. And so when I walked in the house, I didn't know what to necessarily to expect per se.
Okay. Okay.
So it was kind of like a shock to me, because the scene setup was supposed to be different, where it was just her and I. I think they talked about in the early talks of just having a mediator or a therapist or someone talking to
Mm.
navigate through. So the scene changed, which then switched my mind to trying to figure out, well, what is this going to be about? What is this scene going to be about? And so when I walked in the door, I was, kind of surprised at the full of the setup. And so that's kind of how that was my reaction. And then just looking after I'm sitting down and saying, okay, what is this? This is not what I planned for it to quote unquote be, but still keeping an open mind. I just wanted to keep an open mind and hear and be there for the purpose and the reason I was there. And they brought me on. I didn't ask to be on there. They reached out to me to be on there, to tell my side, because no one had heard my side, and they
Mhm.
wanted to hear my side. So when people say it's cold, I understand. It doesn't even offend me, because they don't understand. I was more in shock, and I was more so listening. And there's a lot of edits, again, because we laughed, we did these other things they did not put in there. But again, it's reality TV. They took the things that sell. They took the thing that viewers want to see, and made it. So I don't look at the production or the producers or Carlos, the executive producer, as if he cast me in a bad light, because people will say what they're going to say, irregardless of it. Again, because it's people's opinions, and once you go public with anything, you leave yourself open for the public's opinions and their perspectives, and their assumptions. That mean that they're always right, but that's what comes with it, with that kind of platform.
Well, yeah, it's so true. So let's use this opportunity once again. I know you've been doing press, like you just stated, but let's take this opportunity to clear up some of the misconceptions, because even when you came on, you was very adamant about what you wanted, like you just stated, but what had happened was different, and how it was portrayed in editing was something totally different. And now, since you have not been on there, the story is moving forward. Even on last week, there was the mention of possible expectation of a pregnancy or whatever. And so, how much of it is like, as you've seen it unfold? I know you probably know more so at the ending, but even you're watching it, is there a continual disagreement of how it's being portrayed, in your personal opinion?
What's funny, to be honest, and my staff and people around me will tell you, I only watched that one episode
Hmm.
with me. I didn't want to watch that, but my assistant told me to watch it because I needed to see. I only watched that one, the first, I think it was the third episode when we we're at the table in our house. I didn't watch any episode before that, and I didn't watch any episode after. So I've kind of heard some of the other episodes. Now, what you just said about last week's, that's new to me, because I didn't even know anything of that nature. So I only watched that one episode. I didn't watch anything
Yeah,
before.
it was a cliffhanger. It was a cliffhanger ending, and she goes into the bathroom, and Shayna, and of course, Dorinda daughter, go to her aid,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, oh, I hope I'm not whatever, and that was the cliffhanger. So again, tonight it comes on, we'll see, and at the story move forward. But I know you went live because you, at the end of the season, at the end of episode 5, which was week 4 last, she stated about the infidelity and about the infidelity on her part. You mentioned, you covered her. You didn't mention it. You haven't said a word. Your live, which would really touch my, what really touched my heart was covering. People say they were your friends, but where were they when you needed them? Where were the supported from both sides? If you were both of our friends, where is the, just the integrity and the decency of being, considerate or thoughtful or really concerned about a friend or someone who you say that you are, someone who acquaintance or a friend too, and you said no one did that, no one reached out to you in that manner when you really needed it.
Yeah, when the whole thing came out, or when the blogger, and I don't necessarily want to name him, but when the
Yeah.
blogger did what he did, it shocked me. Not surprising because of who he is, but it surprised me to hear some of the things he was saying that were
Right.
totally false.
Right.
So that absolutely that shocked me, and I knew the real story.
Right.
It's funny how people begin to move away from me or kind of draw back
Mm.
because I was not telling my story. I even had, honestly, I think I said in my live, I had some few church people that also left because they wasn't hearing my side, and I wasn't using the pulpit on Sunday or my Tuesday to talk
Mm.
about it, because that's not the place to do that. It's the sanctuary, it's the holy place. I had a calm meeting with my leaders, and I didn't go into full detail with them right away. I just gave them a little bit, but not a whole lot. I kept it secret. I believe this. I'm almost 50 years old. I believe this to a degree, and I've come into another conceptualization, and my consciousness, I expanded on it. But I believe in covering that. She, at the time, she was my wife. The objective for me to do is to cover her. There was a lot of things I knew, but I was to cover her, and not just as her husband, but as her pastor,
Mm-hmm.
and then as her friend, because Tasha and I were friends.
Yeah.
So I was covering her as her husband, and then I was covering her as a pastor, and then as her friend. And so I did not divulge of things that I knew. I just stayed silent. I kept smiling. I kept preaching. I kept moving. And there are things that I knew I didn't even fully, to be honest with you, I didn't address to her certain things that I knew prior to even our conversation. There's things that I knew, and I did not address in my mind. I was thinking that, everyone has some kind of baggage, and you don't know what's in someone's baggage until you go to help them unpack it. And I didn't want to be the person who felt like, you can extend grace because you may need the same grace one day. You can extend mercy. But ongoing patterns and circumstances keep going, and it puts you in a predicament. So my objective again was to cover her. And I did that for a very, 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 very long time, and lost again. I lost members. Some have come back, but some left because they wanted me to talk and wanted me to tell what's going on. And all they were hearing what she was saying. And as I said, talking to people in the congregation. And I never said anything.
I don't want to put words in your mouth. I want you to
Mhm.
tell me when she said it. When she said, I'll tell it," because I don't want to be, somewhat like someone is holding something over her head, or
Mhm.
she want to be set free because she mentioned she was the one who had done the infidelity. So I guess my question to you: what did you feel in that moment after all you just said with the members leaving, coming back? Did you feel anything? What word would you choose? How you felt? I want to put no words on it. What word would you say you felt in that moment?
That's a great question. No one hasn't asked me that question yet. Uh, to be honest, Tasha had apologized prior to the show in January. The end of January, she apologized. She did say something over the phone, not necessarily in person, but over the phone. We had a long conversation, and she did apologize then. She honestly did mention to me that she was going to, her exact words was, I know I need to vindicate you because of some of the things that I've said and et cetera, et cetera. She said, so I need to vindicate you because I said a lot of things publicly with messages, indirect messages on Instagram. Before even the blogger did what he did, there was indirect messages over a year and a half being placed about me. And so she told me she was going to do that. Now, how particularly she was going to, I didn't know until later on before I got to the show. I knew that the understanding was that she would say that she, had an affair. It would just stay there, the word affair. And so I knew that I don't think the new producers knew fully what she was going to say until she said it. And of course, that's a run with, from my understanding, that was a run with because it became, I believe, I think it is the most watched episode of all of them
Yes.
because of that. So she did apologize. But in that moment, to answer your question, just reliving that again in that moment when she was saying it on when we were taping or filming, I in that moment I didn't feel she was apologetic because of the words that she chose. It felt to me in that moment, it felt to me it was more for the entertainment of it more so than the realistic of it. I would say I would take in January when she said sorry versus when she did it on the show. It seemed like it was more mechanic. I'm not saying that it wasn't real. I don't know, but for me in that moment, as you asked the question, I didn't take it as a genuine. So it didn't move me in that moment. What moved me honestly was what she said in January, and that 3.5 hours we talked. That moved me. But in the filming, which took place in March last year, it didn't move me at all. It didn't move me. For me, it just felt rehearsed. Or let me just say this because you're not going to get ahead of me. I'm going to control my own narrative, and she's big on that, and there's nothing wrong with that. She taught me that to control your own narrative and tell you, stand in your truth, and whatever your truth is, your truth. I learned those words from Tasha. And she embedded it because she would always say it, and she's well at doing that. And that's not a sarcasm or negative, but in that moment, it just felt like I'm going to say it in case you decide to say it. I said it first, so you can't tell my story.
But even in the sequestering of the controlling the narrative, there's still a lot of innuendos. Not to say that is not being completely transparent, but if there's some things you want to share, some things should be private, and that's what's obvious in this, what we want to share. Because even after someone shares their truth, it's still like it's still this, what I don't want to say this because I so it's like I don't know, and I'm hearing what you're saying, like who's to blame, who's not to blame. But what I'm also saying, or I'm asking you, is that traditionally people think something on your part was done
Mhm.
that caused it. So what I'm asking also in that question is, when she said she caused the infidelity, how did you feel in that moment when she admitted that on TV?
That was true. Um, I'm big on this with myself. I don't blame people for what I do. I'm big on this with my kids. My son is married with two kids, one on the other way. I'm big on this, even with my congregation. Take accountability for what you do. Don't blame someone because we all have choices. If it was me, as I said on my live, if it's me and I did it, I have to eat it. I did it. Children make mistakes, but adults, we make choices.
But
And so
was you
that's,
happy in that moment that she said what it was about? Because it wasn't
yes,
on you then. It was
yeah.
like, oh, what she did. Did it make you feel any type of way, emotion? I don't put the words in it. Did it make you feel vindicated? Did it make you feel happy? How did you feel when she said that?
It actually honestly made me feel relieved, and they did
Okay,
not get
really.
this, but in
Okay,
that moment as she was talking, I started
okay,
crying, but they didn't put it.
okay, okay,
Yeah, I started
okay.
crying in that moment. Yeah.
Very good. So what about the part she also said that when she was in your church as first lady, as head of praise and worship, the psalmist, she didn't feel welcome. She didn't feel respected. All the words that I can't remember the exact words she used, but she felt like there was never a real feeling of we were becoming one
Mhm.
within the marriage. Could you address that somewhat?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. I again, if they didn't put that in there, but I acknowledged that in the thing, but they edited it out. And I said to her, and I apologize for that. This is in any sector of life, but particularly we talk about church. I had been there before her, of course. Anytime you bring in any pastor or person, or people tell you that when you're bringing in somebody, not everybody is going to be welcoming. Not everybody is going to like who you chose or who you're with. Did some of them, not the whole church, but did some of them um, um, press the issue, or you could tell that they didn't like her? Absolutely. You could tell. Did anyone go off on her in the sense? No, but they did, you could tell that they didn't care for her. But that comes to territory, and that builds, and you preferably believe it will change over time, excuse me.
Do you
You're not
think
going to.
because she was a high profile person in gospel sector, or you think that it was just her personality?
I'll say this. Um, Tasha came in with a mindset to help. She just wanted to help. I'm not going to take that from her. She wanted to help. She wanted to serve. She was not only over the praise and worship, but she was the executive administrator of the other administrators in the church, and did a phenomenal job with administering. So she did that, very well. But here goes the caveat is, she came with to wanting to serve, wanting to help, etc. But when you link up with certain people, and one thing I said to her, and I don't know if any, I think other people mentioned to her, when you're coming into a new environment, people getting to know you, there are already loyalties that's already been built.
Mhm.
And you have to be careful what you say, because you can't trust anybody. You have to give time to build that trust. And I would say that one of the things that, and we had this conversation, sharing with one or two people that she should not have, how she felt about certain things or maybe other people, and then those people flipping that and telling
Yeah,
everyone else,
come
because,
on,
and
come on.
that made it bad, because now they're like, well, you just got here and you saying who you don't like. But in her mind, she thought she was just sharing and venting to somebody. But I said to her, these people don't know you and you don't know them. You have to learn to trust them, and they have to learn to trust you. Don't get buddy buddy with people. And that was a problem that happened, because then you got one person, well, she said this about you and this is how she felt. But to her defense, she was being innocent, but then to the detriment, it worked against her,
Wow.
in that sense. And it's not easy. She's never been a pastor's wife.
Yeah.
And being a pastor's wife is different than being a gospel artist.
Well, yeah.
It comes with what an individual things you may do as outside of being a pastor's wife in public, or with certain groups, you can't do anymore.
Yes.
Certain people can't see your humanity and your transparency. And when you become friends with your sheep, you see, when the
Mm,
shepherd becomes friends with the sheep, he loses the respect and he loses his guidance.
yes.
So that's why the shepherd and sheep have to have a separation. I appointed someone to aid her as an armor bearer who I trusted, who would cover her, she could be human with, and that person stayed to that task and did not uncover. She knew things before I knew. She did not uncover her. And she could be human with that person. And I said, this is the person I'm giving you. When you need to have a human moment, you need to be transparent. This is the person, just to this person. But when you open up the door and let other people in, it poses a problem.
Yeah. Did you at any given time, in hindsight, um, being as honest and transparent as you can, did you ever give her false hope that there were? First of all, I guess I need to ask: are you guys reconciling? Are you guys divorced? What is the status of you guys' marriage at this point? I believe you divorced, correct?
Yeah, she put that out last year, and then I
Yeah.
I did a
Yeah.
small clip just acknowledging that, because
Well, yeah.
I hadn't told the church, so
Right.
that they seen it, and I had already told them, if we get a divorce, I'll let y'all know. But then she went on and did it on social media, so it kind of backfired on me, and I had to go and do that. So yeah, we've been divorced since last May. Yeah,
And you said she filed and she wanted the divorce at some
no, no,
point.
no. I filed.
You filed.
Oh yeah, I found she didn't want the divorce at all. She
Okay.
didn't want it, and she didn't want it up until the day she was signing. She didn't want it then. She didn't want it after that. She did not want the divorce.
So So did you ever give her that false hope that you guys would get back together, and you knew already that you was not going to get reconciled?
No, I never gave her false hope. If you see the clip in what I said time will tell. I never gave her false hope. I never said it may work, it can work. I never said that. I said what I said in the episode is what I said before. Time will tell. And there was a moment or two. I think I did, if I remember, I recall I did say to her, I said, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. I said, this isn't it. And it was after the whole blogger thing, because in my mind, see, I didn't file for divorce because of the affair or affairs, because there were emotional affairs along with sexual. But I didn't. That wasn't it. It was the betrayal that I couldn't take. I could not take the betrayal because for me that was beyond what I just it blew my mind.
So that
Um,
that is, let me just put it in proper context. The detail of the emotional and yet physical infidelity, the dynamics of it is what you say the betrayal is. You say the details, some of the details that you won't be able to share. That's what you're talking about. That's what you're referencing.
partly, but the more so the portrayal of speaking evil and ill of me to people.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Telling falsehoods and lies and not being honest with people in her circle and outside of her circle to tell the
Mm,
truth. They didn't hear
okay.
it until the show. And there were many times I said, Tasha,
Okay.
you should tell these people. I'm not telling them. They're going to hear it when I say it.
Right.
So they had this perception as if it was all my fault. And then again, what she shared with the blogger, or what she said, she stretched her truth. But that portrayal, I couldn't deal with that. You know, how do you sleep with someone who betrays you like that?
And so was the betrayal is the fact that she said it, or was it true? Was it not true? What was the really the that okay, this is it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Now,
It was
was
it
all
was false.
encompassing, it
It
was
was
false.
false.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot of most of it. It was the only the truth. And I said this on my live. The thing that she said that was true was that when there was a time she walked out of the bathroom in her lingerie, and I didn't look up from my phone. That is the truth. I didn't say it was right. I did not look up at it because I knew what was going on. And in my mind was, I'm not even doing this tonight. I can't put myself in that bed because I know what's going on. So no, that is true. And the fact of her saying that there were moments when I was cold. There was 3 or 4 moments when I was cold in the sense of nonchalant because I was trying to wrap my mind around what I knew, and then hearing her still say "I love you." I couldn't. It was a lot to grasp. And I'm not saying being cold was right. I'm not going to say that. But in that moment, those moments, that's what I reverted to. I thought I handled it better in retrospect. In hearing her, I thought I handled it better than I did. And I don't make an excuse for the coldness, but people need to understand that coldness was the result of what I knew and what was going on, and I yet had to get up and preach and travel. That was hard to deal with.
Yeah, but she also mentioned that when you guys went back to the hotel room, that so that was mixed signals because you guys, and there's nothing wrong with that because you guys were still married. But she was saying that was the mixed signal she was sending when she still believed there was still hope to salvage the marriage.
You know, I heard that. I don't want to get into details of that because I don't want to. I don't want to put nobody out there. But
No, no, I understand. I'm
the
just
truth of the
yeah,
matter is, I did not call her back to that hotel. That was my staff to tell me that that is so much of a lie. I didn't call her back. When I said cut and all the producers came out and she said we went into the room, we were talking, and then I was leaving, and she said her exact words was, "My sister was there. He was in the house," and I said, "I'm leaving," and she said, "No, don't go, don't go." She said, "Please, let's talk." And I said, "I had nothing to talk about." I said, "Tasha, this ain't what this is supposed to be. This is not how this supposed." She said, "No, let's talk. Let me explain." She said, let me come to your hotel. Let me explain." And she said, "Let me come to your hotel and let me explain." I never called her. I never. If she tells the truth, I never called her. I never text her to come to my hotel room. The only thing I text her is after a while, I don't know, maybe an hour, hour and a half, maybe. She said, "What room?" And I put the room number, but I never called her. I never said, "Come to my hotel room." She said she wanted to explain. She said she was sorry. She said, "Let me explain. Don't leave like this." She's like, don't leave like this. I don't want you to leave like this. Let me explain. And that's how the whole hotel thing. I never called her. Never text her at all. Never text her.
So what is you guys' relationship is today? Are you guys friends? You guys talk? Has the forgiving process started? Where you at with it right now today, a year later, a year or so later?
To be honest with you, no, we don't talk. No, we don't talk. We were there was some moments, where she kept in touch, or she would call me, and it was kind of sporadic. And then the last time I think I said was after she did the right before she did the YouTube after the show, she reached out to me, and then I called her back the next morning because I didn't see it, and she FaceTimed, and I FaceTimed her back. We talked, we laughed, and so when they told me, I didn't know till Sunday about the thing she did that same night with Carlos. And I said, "What?" I said, "We just got done laughing and talking." And so that at that point, I said, "That's it. I can't do that anymore. Where it feels like there's a manipulation going on because we laughed, we talked about our children, her children, and good, and then." What 4 hours later you're up on YouTube, and that was it for me. So we didn't necessarily keep in touch like I call her whatever. If it was more so like if something she may have needed or something like that, not so much money, nothing like that, but other things that maybe something she may have left the house, or she needed me to do something or send mail because some of her mail was still coming here. But we're not. Unfortunately, we are not. We don't talk. We are not. I can't even say we're not friends. I don't hate her. No, no, no. I don't hate her. But we're not friends. We don't have cordial conversations. Like that. No, we don't. That the last cordial conversation was that right after the show. Like I said, I FaceTimed her back, and that was it.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's definitely the show has definitely it was good when it first the first show was great, but definitely when this came, everybody was like all in. And ever since then you just glued in. So I kind of I got to agree, knowing Carlos King definitely know how to put together a storyline.
He
And
does.
so it definitely got people listening to the show. It's definitely number one shows now that's doing very well. And yeah, I'm happy for them. But I just wanted to make sure and check in that you wasn't a casualty. You know what I'm saying? Because maybe that it's older and we just seen it now. Maybe that the healing has started, or I was hoping that you guys have been amicable since then. You have reconciled and seen what went wrong. So I just wanted to see where you were with it. I wanted the people to hear from you and to make sure that any misconceptions you wanted to clear up. I know I didn't see the second live you said you was going to bring. I don't know if you have done that yet or what. Um,
Um, yeah, I did the second live, and that's where I mentioned I cleared up a lot of things. I just went off of what thing that she said on YouTube with Carlos. I just went step by step,
okay.
and cleared up misconceptions. Not just misconceptions, King Solomon. It was lies. There were
Okay.
lies and misconceptions, and I just cleared those up, because I'm just it shocked me to hear that. That's how it was being portrayed, or the truth was not being stated.
Mm,
And so I just went to clear those things up, and I didn't go any further than that, but to simply close up. You don't get everybody to believe you. I wasn't trying
yeah.
to get people to believe me. I've just been silent and haven't said anything, and I said, you know what, I have to. There's moments when you have to be silent, and there's moments to speak. Ecclesiastes 3:7 says the time to speak and the time to be silent. So you have to know when to speak and when to be silent. And I had been silent, and so it was time for me to bring
Yeah. Yeah.
some understanding, a context. That's what I was doing, just simply bringing context to some of the things. Well, actually, everything she said during that interview, I was bringing
Yeah.
context to it, and clearing the airways. But everybody don't believe, and it's okay. You don't expect everybody to believe. Some
Yeah.
people will believe it, some people won't. But you
Yeah.
make sure that you clear up on your part, and what everybody do with it, they do with it. And
Yeah.
old news, you said something about it being aired last year and then coming out this year. It was supposed to come out last year, to be
Right.
honest with
Okay.
you, but it got pushed back, I think, twice to this year.
Okay.
And old news becomes new news when people are just hearing it for the first time. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Like a
yeah,
lot of us are. A lot of
yes,
us
yeah.
are. But no, it's definitely has been a life lesson. It's a learning lesson. The way you definitely have handled it has definitely, I think, resonated with a lot of people as well. It could have got way more messier, and I think because
Mhm.
you handled it with integrity and like you said, use the word covering and the way you do stuff. Like you said, some things needed to be done, and I think it needed to be done, but the way you handle it makes a difference. And
Yes.
I think that's what people are looking at, and that's what's going to stand. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, the truth is going to stand. Will there be more lives? Because the show has not ended yet. Um, Once you see how you being portrayed, if you come up again, will there be a new live of you going precept by precept to clarify, not misconceptions, but the lies?
Uh, I can't. I can't say no, but
Okay,
my
okay,
my objective is not to go on and do a bunch of lives. You know, people are
okay.
reaching out for interviews. So as it goes on, just like you did, as it goes on in interviews, I will share if it's something I need to clear up in an interview. But I don't want to necessarily go back on. You know, I'm past all that, man. I am.
Yeah,
I know I got to deal with it in an interview, so that's not what I mean. But as far as that, I'm past all that. My ministry is doing great. We are
I mean,
progressing. We have been growing through this pandemic. We did God favored us through this pandemic. We were strong during the pandemic. We're strong. The ministry has taken off
I mean,
again, and business is booming. I've moved on with life, with ministry, with entrepreneurship that I've already started expanding certain things when it comes to my businesses and focusing on that and just living life till its fullest. So
I mean,
I'm not necessarily focused on of that. But again, if something arises that my staff tell me that this is what's been said, and then in the interview, then I'll address it in an interview.
okay,
People say what they say, and they feel. I saw some people in the comments saying he must be, and I don't like to use the word because we use it too much and we
yeah,
get out of context, but gay and all that. That doesn't phase me because that's just people's opinion and that's what they feel, that's what they think. Because why would a man not want to have sex? Well, the same way a woman don't want to have sex if her man has cheated on her several times or having affairs. You don't want to just jump in the bed with that person. It's not like, hey, hip hip hooray, let's go. I've never had this as a man. I didn't know what it felt like to be in this predicament, in these shoes. Because normally, even it's a statistically normally majority, it's women.
yeah,
But tides are turning.
yeah,
And as I said in my live, divorce shouldn't be the first thing for a man or anybody, but specifically for a man when a woman cheats or has an affair.
yeah,
You should try to stick it out because women, statistically, 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10 women, when they are cheated on or affair, first time, second, or third, they stick it out. And
yes,
they give that man hell. They may not trust him. They're going to build back up their trust, but they stay. But when a
yes,
man is in the same predicament
yeah,
one time, he's
yeah,
out the door. And it's
yeah,
because of how we're built mentally and
yeah,
territorial. We mark our territory. It
yeah,
doesn't mean that it's right, it doesn't mean that it's fair, but we just don't have it in us to continue once a woman has given her emotions in her heart, in her body, to someone else. It's just not it. So my
yeah,
objective is, and I'm not going to necessarily write a book about this,
hmm,
but if there was a conversation, it would be really talking with men and helping them deal with when you're in the shoes that your woman or your wife would normally be in, and you're in those shoes now. Now you're the one that's been cheated on. You're the one that has to deal with someone having an affair and still figure out how to kiss them, how to hug them, how to have sex with them, and not see another man. And while you're having that, those are emotions that most men never felt before because
yeah,
a lot of men ain't been in that. And if I got a lot of men after I did my live, I won't name anybody, but I'm telling you, this is no gimmick or no game. I got so many inboxes and DMs from pastors and bishops and some people in the gospel industry, pastors or people, just pastors or people, period, and to an R&B people who are people who their wife or their quote unquote girlfriend or partner had an affair, and they didn't know how to deal with all of that.
hmm,
And so I have been spending my time really honestly, I'm not counseling nobody, but listening to men share that and navigate through
hmm,
those feelings and those emotions. And I'm very hard on them, even when it's not their fault. I've still been hard on those men, and they respect and appreciate the fact that I have been hard on them. I had a bishop reach out to me, and I know who he is. I won't name him. He's very, very, very well known.
Mm,
And he said, I just dealt with this 3 days ago.
mm.
He said, I'm sitting in my car listening to you crying in my driveway. He said, I just dealt with this 3 days ago. I just found out with my wife was having an affair with my assistant for the past 8 months. And he said, I'm sitting in this car and I said, God, I'm about to take my life. And he said,
Mm.
I just scrolled through Facebook and I caught you in 10 minutes in. And he said, thank you for saving my life. So
Wow.
that to me is big. And I helped him navigate the emotions and why and all of those things. You never know what men hurt too. Men bleed. Men have
Yeah.
pain. We may not express it like women, but we have pain. And so that brought me joy. And I said to God, if I had to be an experiment, to be able to be a sanctuary, thank you for that.
Wow. Well, I was going to end with saying, say something inspirational to our audience, but I think you just did that. That's amazing. But I will end with this. I would say, have you reached out an olive branch of reconciliation to all those friends, all those acquaintances, all those pastor friends that said they was your friend, but in your time of need and comfort, they weren't there? What do those relationships look like today?
I haven't reached out to none of them, to be
Okay.
honest, but I've had a few reach out to me and apologize, say
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Some sent me cash apps. And a few of them I give them, they just kept saying, Doc, why didn't you say something, man?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
didn't you tell us? And I said to them, if it was your wife,
That's
would you
it.
have told me? And they said no. Exactly, same difference. You wouldn't have told me. But that's what they were. Some of them were a little upset you didn't tell us. We were asking, what was going on, and you wouldn't say nothing. But they kind of, they took their side, and some of them admitted. They said I took side, and I didn't know the full story, and I'm so
And
sorry.
I could tell that really hurt because you was
It did.
adamant about that. You was
It did hurt.
respectful. So I love you. I respect you, but just keep that same energy.
That's right. Yeah,
Keep
yeah, 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 yeah. I
but not
accept the
right now.
apology, but we can't be friends. Yeah,
Maybe next
can't
year,
be
but
friends.
not right now.
Not right, not right now.
Amen. That was definitely classic. Please let people know. This is Pastor Bishop T. Veron House. Let them know where they can find you, how they can connect with you, how they can be a blessing, and everything like that. Before we get out of here.
Yeah, you can reach me. Follow me on Instagram at T Veron VERON House on Instagram. Facebook is Veron House VERON House on Facebook. You can follow me on either one of those platforms. I'll be glad to have you as a follower. And I don't look for followers to impress them. I just want to inspire people. So hopefully you will connect with me, and you can watch our live streams on Tuesday, our live streams on Sunday, and get to hear the word of the Lord and the message of hope and the kingdom as you watch me. So that's yeah.
Thank you so much, and have you back on at the end of the season. Maybe come back on and we can share.
Ooh,
Thing maybe just as a fun interview, little bit more relaxed,
a little
if
more
you will.
relaxed.
Yeah,
Okay,
a little more relaxed.
okay,
All
okay.
right, all right. Then talk to you later. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. All
Okay,
right, there you go. Grown in Gospel, Pastor Bishop T. Veron House. We thank him so much for being here. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you guys subscribe, share this video. King Solomon Entertainment on YouTube. King underscore Solomon SOLOMON underscore ENT underscore on Instagram. Solomon Davis on Facebook, and King Solomon Entertainment on Roku and Fire Stick. Thank you guys so much for all of you guys' support and help. Definitely, if you want to support us directly, the Cash App is $King Solomon ENT. $King Solomon KINGSOLOMONENT. Thank you guys so much. Until next time.